guys, it's Barry in DR. Tonight it's my sincere pleasure to have Brother John F. as my guest. As most of you are already aware, Brother John is the founder and host of one of the most popular websites, Silver for the People. Brother John has positioned himself as a reliable source of information pertaining to important subjects of concern, including precious metals, the criminal cartel, where fiat is heading, and how one might best prepare to survive the upcoming storms of financial collapse. Without any further delay, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Brother John F.
Thanks, Barry. It's great to be on with you.
Thank you. Brother John, I just wanted to take a second and personally thank you for squeezing us in on an already overbooked schedule. I know everybody's trying to pull a piece of you, so thank you very much.
Oh, it's no problem.
Okay, let's get started with tonight's questions. From the readers of my blog, I'm seeing a heightened level of concern about the stability of the U.S. and fears that the government will be tightening down on access to their assets. What are some of the concerns you're hearing from your subscribers these days?
Well, there's a lot of concern about 401ks, and there's a large amount of money there. I don't know what the latest figures are. The last estimate I heard is something close to what the national debt is, maybe 16 trillion or something like that. But that money is, by design, corralled into pretty much stocks and bonds, and more so stocks. We see the stocks making higher and higher prices. But the way that it's structured, it's very, very difficult for people to liquidate those funds. And I've always advised people that if they're going to take money, they're going to take the money that's easiest to get. And it's really pretty much just a stroke of a pen as far as changing the rules on those. The big fear, of course, is that they will just force people into some type of government bond and take away the stock component. Now, I don't think that's a big fear at the present time, because I've said many times that there's going to have to be a crash first. They have to make the credible argument that your stocks just haven't done you well in this thing, and so we're going to help you out. So they have to come in as the friend of the investor. And there's no way for them to make a credible argument right now that stocks haven't performed. So I'm looking for a very, very severe bear market, and then probably them making that type of argument.
Okay. I've noticed that Doug Casey has stepped up his urgency in encouraging his readers to open up their minds up to the possibility of moving themselves and their assets out of America. Do you agree with this type of strategy? And if so, where should our readers start such a venture?
Well, it's a very controversial issue, because you have a large contingent of people who think they're going to fight some battle against the government. Now, I think that's kind of silly, but there's a lot of people who view the idea of moving overseas to escape a potential tyranny, or just even more, just to escape the type of incredible bureaucratic restrictions that are growing by the day in the United States. And I really, that's something that I've never really understood, because when you look back at the framers and founders of America, they were people who were fleeing that very thing. So to me, it's more a dedication to a principle than it is to a geography. And so, of course, what you're doing down there in the DR, and Jeff Berwick and Doug Casey, and there's others that I follow that are in Thailand, it just seems very reasonable to me for people to go to a place where it's freer. Now, that's also very controversial, because there's a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt about whether these places are actually freer. So you're somebody who could definitely speak to that issue. I'm still here in the United States, where you can't open a lemonade stand without petitioning the FDA.
No, I'm just going to continue. Brother John, I wrote an article last year called The Perils of a Three-Legged Stool. My premise was that a good many people were starting to get it regarding converting some of their assets into precious metals. However, far fewer were at the stage of storing food, water, weapons, ammunition, medical supplies, etc. that almost nobody even thought of, let alone was paying any attention to what perhaps might be the most important leg of all, and that's sovereignty. Brother John, would you hazard to guess as to what percentage of the precious metal crowd have actually started to wrestle through the other issues of the three-legged stool? And what do you personally think about the idea of setting up in another country that will weather the storm better by being self-reliant on commodities such as warm weather year-round, an abundance of local foods, plenty of drinkable water, and a much less intrusive government?
Well, I couldn't agree more that that is an underrepresented point of view for that community. I'm not really sure why that is. Like I said before, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that surrounds it. People are very comfortable where they are. Very few people have traveled overseas, and so they're pretty much subject to whatever rumors. One of the things that you always hear, I know Jeff Berwick, I think he's in Mexico. One of the things you always hear people talk about Mexico is, oh, you're going to get shot by drug lords, or Colombia is now an up-and-coming place, and people talk about, well, the drug cartels are going to kill you. So there's a lot of fear, and I think a lot of it comes from the mainstream media. There are definitely a lot of articles about that. But so I would say that it's a very, very underrepresented view in this community. I definitely agree with it. We hopefully can relocate. We haven't decided where, but hopefully can come visit you. And I just think that a lot more people should consider it, voting with their feet. Now, I've talked about the Iron Curtain before. And of course, the Soviet Union was ultimately discredited in the world's eyes because they had to keep their people captive. And any country that has to keep their people captive is going to be ultimately discredited, whether that's through the eyes of other countries or historically. But I see those trends in the United States, and I have fears as to whether or not a lot of the security supposedly to protect the borders from invaders are actually going to be walls set up to keep people in.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're always welcome to come and visit us, and let me continue with the next question. We've all heard and read about what they did over in Cyprus, confiscating large portions of people's bank accounts and the pressure on the government to sell a large portion of its gold reserves. My question is, how long do you think it will take for the rest of the major countries to take similar actions, and do you think it will ever happen in America and Canada?
Well, the big question is going to be how many gold reserves there really are, and I don't think we really know the answer to that question. Now, a lot of people have speculated as to whether the actions that occurred in Egypt and Libya and was it Tunis, and now there's Mali. So how much of that is related to getting their hands on the physical gold? How much physical gold is draining off the LBMA and the COMEX? We don't know, but my guess is that probably a lot of that physical gold is going east. Now, as far as confiscation, there really wasn't a confiscation in the United States. There was more of a forced sale. Confiscation is where they just simply take it. That's probably maybe more likely in the case of silver than gold. Maybe it could be argued that silver is some kind of strategic metal. As far as gold, I don't know. They may do the same thing again in the United States and Canada. I know there are a lot of people who have invested in the CEF in Canada, and there are other things they've invested in Canada. But for me, it seems that Canada is pretty much a lackey of the United States. So I would guess, just based upon Canada's compliance with Homeland Security on the border, it looks like the U.S. pretty much calls the shots on that. So I would guess that whichever direction the United States went, Canada would probably rapidly follow.
Mm-hmm.